Me personally, I would not trade up for a center in this draft. I think Jackson Powers Johnson's awesome. There are some issues. Only 1 year as a bona fide starter. He was awesome. He was versatile. He's played a lot before then, but only one true year as a starter. So that's, you know, I know the Trey Lance PTSD um, still sets in whenever you hear 1 year starting. For centers, a little bit different. Yeah, he was with them for a long time, got some meaningful snaps at other spots. But I think with Jackson Powers Johnson, I don't think I see him as one of the best centers in the league. I don't think his ceiling is that high. I see him as one of the cleanest draft prospects in this draft already at a huge position of need for the 49ers. Jake Brindle's great. He's a backup, versatile O lineman. I get it. Personally, I think you're leaving a lot of meat on the bone with him there. But I wouldn't trade up for Jackson Powers Johnson. And here's the reason why. I think there's three quality first round capable centers in this draft. I think Jackson's the best, but I don't mind Zach Frazier and I don't mind Graham Barton. And so those are options. So because there's three in that range, that lowers the demand, right? Or the supply. The demand's there, but there's three of them. I think two, if not, definitely one, but probably two guys will be there at 31. So that's not necessarily a position I would trade up for. Now, having said that, let's talk about Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I think if they were to trade up in the first round, and I'll give you some scenarios with draft capital and what it would take to get where in a second. I think trading up in the first round is a viable option this year if you're going to trade up for an offensive tackle or defensive end, because those are premium spots. The center I see as a premium spot, but offensive tackle, defensive end, those are premium, and you have a need there. Very similar need to what you have at center. You got to go get those spots fixed. You have to try. They didn't try last year, and I thought it bit them in the butt a little bit. And so, that's fine. And I would also throw in cornerback, not quarter. But the 49ers do not value the cornerback position like other teams do. So, personally, I do value the corner and the center as premium positions. The 49ers do not. Cornerback for sure. They've never spent more than a third round pick on a corner. That's it. Ahkello Witherspoon's the highest drafted corner in this John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan era. They don't value it. They don't pay it. They want to build up front, work to the back, right? It's just kind of what they do. And also, you have your top two corners set for this year, Diamador Lenore and Charvarius Ward. Ward's number one for sure, but they love Demo. Demo's a long-term play for the 49ers. Having said that, Charvarius Ward, last year of his deal. He's got 2 void years, and I think the 49ers might restructure. I hope they do. I love Charvarius Ward. I don't want him to go anywhere. That kind of makes me tilt back just a little bit to, maybe you could take a corner early, but I don't see the first round as that. I really, really don't. If the Toledo kid, Quinion Mitchell, I believe his name is there, that would be awesome. That's a perfect fit, but I think he's going to be long gone by then. But still, even if he was there, I don't think the 49ers would be spending a first round pick on a corner. I could be wrong, unless something just falls through their lap perfectly. Okay. So if we're going to operate under this idea of the 49ers trading up in the first round, not saying they should, this is just a what if. Okay. That's the whole idea. What if they do? What would it cost? What player would you trade up for? What positions would you trade up for? So the 49ers currently have 11 picks. Okay. They've got 11 picks. They're picking number 31 in the first round, 63 second round, 94 third round, 124 fourth round. Like, you can go on and on and on, whatever. What would it cost, just based on the trades that have been accomplished in the past couple of years and the trade value charts and all the different ones that are out there? How high could the 49ers jump up in the first round? I don't think they would jump high. We saw this in the third round last year with the Jair Brown trade. The only time the 49ers have traded up in the past 2 drafts was for Jair Brown. And you just jump up a little bit. You wait, you're patient, then you jump up a little bit. I think that's something that could happen. Not saying it would, But if they did trade him in the first round, I think you're only jumping up to like spot 25. And that's kind of what the numbers dictate. So picking number 31, that draft pick, the accumulated value is about 600 points. And I know teams use different draft charts and whatever and valuations. I will say this, and I wholeheartedly believe this. The classic Jimmy Johnson trade chart is kind of the holy grail whenever it comes to draft trades, not including top 10 quarterbacks. So again, you talk about the Trey Lance trade, 49ers overpaid. And you can talk about the Carson Wentz trade, Jared Goff trade, I don't know, any quarterback trade in the top 10 the past 10 years, throw those are anomalies. You got to throw those out. Every other trade falls in line pretty damn close. Super close, in fact. So, if we're operating under that, the 31st pick that the 49ers currently have is about 600 points. To jump up to number 25, 6 spots, that's 720 points. So you got to figure out a way to close that. There's lots of ways to do it. The easiest way is to offer the number 94 pick, your third round pick, and your first round pick to jump up 6 spots. So that gives you a little bit of all right, let's just see. I'm not saying they should. I'm saying if they want to. If somebody falls, that's where it would be key. Now the question is, okay, well, who are some guys or positions that could fall? Defensive end, offensive tackle. That's all I'd be interested in. That's really it. Maybe you get elite wide receiver that falls, and maybe you entertain that, but yeah, probably not. Defensive ends that I would be happy with, and these three names. The top one, very unlikely. And, that's Latu's brother out of UCLA, the defensive end. I don't think he falls to the 20s. But if he did, I would totally jump up for that defensive end. Right. And so, like, you don't think it will happen, but if it did, I'd be interested. Chop Robinson, the defensive end out of Penn State. He's more of just as kind of a speed guy, and we'll break down all the film on him on Patreon and all these guys in the 49ersrush.com. And then Darius Robinson. He's a guy that I think is going to get a lot of steam because a lot of these pass rushers are speed only guys. And I know the 49ers have been in the place where it's like, oh, you get one of these speed guys opposite of Bosa. Now we're cooking. Well, then you went and got Randy Gregory. It didn't really work. You got Robert Bill Jr. All right. You got Drake Jackson, the bin guy. You're keeping Robert Bill Jr. You're keeping Drake Jackson. They're complementary pass rushers at best. Neither one of those two guys are 3-down defensive ends. So now the Niners are in a little bit of a different position than what they have been in, where you need a Cleveland Farrell, who hopefully they re-sign, but he's a free agent, so we can't plan currently that we're getting him back. When Cleveland Farrell went out, defense struggled. You replaced him with Chase Young, who's a 3-down defensive end, still struggled. You got to get a force. And one of the only forces at the defensive end spot in the range the 49ers are picking is Darius Robinson. That's a 3-down. He was playing defensive tackle at some points in his career. So, it's just changed a little bit because we've been so used to you got to go get that speed guy, bend, burst off the edge, D Ford. Now it's kind of like, man, we need somebody on first and second down. An all-purpose defensive end. Free agency's got to, affect that for sure. But that's kind of where you're at now. And we'll get to some of these, right here. Let's talk about offensive tackles. Okay, so if you're going to trade up for tackles, Oscar says, what about Fuaga? He's talking about Talise Fuaga, the Oregon State tackle. I have him going inside the top 15, inside the top 10. He falls to 20. I'm pulling the trigger. I'm trading second rounders. I don't give a damn. Take me out. I would love that to take place. And I know I'm going to get a lot of emails and DMs. Well, what about if Jared Verse falls, the defensive end out of Florida State, or Dallas Turner, or, all these kind of top 10 prospects, and you play through those scenarios. But Fuaga, I doubt that dude's going to be available. As much as I want him to be, that would be a dream scenario. I'm probably not even going to do enough draft film breakdowns on him. I don't know how the Niners can get that high. You might have to trade multiple firsts. And I don't think that's worth it, personally. We need premium players. We haven't had first round picks in years. Now, two guys that I think could fall that far. First one, little less likely. That's J.C. Latham out of Alabama. There's some hurdles there. The Alabama, Kyle Shanahan ticket is huge. But, if you look at it, J.C. Latham, he's that next tier down. And, you play with mock drafts, and you play with rankings and big boards and whatever else. I'm having a hard time seeing teams that would like J.C. Latham to tackle at Alabama more than Fuaga. So he's just a spot down. I don't think he'll be there at 25. I think he's going top 20, but I think it's a little more realistic he falls. Or Troy Fontenot out of Washington. That's a possibility. But again, that's a trade up possibility. Will he be there at 31? Doubt it. Will he be there at 25? That's a coin flip. And so back to the question of, would I trade up? The answer is probably not. But if I'm sitting there at the draft and Latu, Chop Robinson, Darius Robinson, J.C. Latham, Troy Fontenot, I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I'm sorry, I haven't worked through my pronunciations yet. They are there. I'm waiting until there's just one of those guys left, and I'm picking up the phone. I'm not going to overpay, but I would see.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.